Well, hot damn, ladies and gentlemen. I guess it's a good thing I'm subscribed to Scarce, because had I not been subscribed, I would probably not have been made aware of what we're going to be talking about here, and this is going to impact you if you are a Canadian content creator. Let's get into talking about Bill C-11. The Online Streaming Act, or Bill C-11, is a proposed Canadian federal legislation. It was first introduced on November 3rd, 2020 by Minister of Canadian Heritage Stephen Guilbeault during the second session of the 43rd Canadian Parliament as an act to amend the Broadcasting Act, or Bill C-10, which passed in the House of Commons on June 22nd, 2021, but failed to pass the Senate before Parliament was dissolved for a federal election. It was reintroduced with amendments as the Online Streaming Act during the first session of the 44th Canadian Parliament in February 2022. The bill seeks to amend the Broadcasting Act to account for the increased prominence of internet video and digital media and to prioritize the quote-unquote needs and interests of Canadians and the inclusion and involvement of Canadians of diverse backgrounds in broadcast programming. It adds undertakings that conduct broadcasting over the internet to the regulatory scope of the Canadian Radio, Television and Telecommunications Commission, or CRTC for short, which would give the CRTC the power to regulate almost all audiovisual content distributed via online platforms, including monetized content on social media services. This can include compelling them to make use of Canadian talent, mandating that they make contributions to the Canada Media Fund to support the production of Canadian content and improve the discoverability of Canadian content on their platforms. Alongside this, the bill also removes the 7-year term limit for CRTC-issued broadcast licenses, a regulatory process which will not apply to internet broadcaster, adds a mechanism of imposing conditions on broadcasters without them being bound to a license term, and introduces monetary fines for violating orders and regulations issued by the CRTC. Supporters of the bill state that it would allow the CRTC to compel foreign streaming services to follow similar regulatory obligations to conventional radio and television broadcasters, and government officials projected that mandating participation in the CMF by online broadcasters would result in at least $830 million in additional funding by 2023. The bill has faced criticism for granting a large amount of power to the CRTC, who are unelected regulators and receive very little guidance from Parliament or the government. Its unclear applicability to user-generated content on social media services has also faced concerns that it infringes freedom of expression and that the bill would extraterritorially subject any form of audiovisual content distributed online via platforms accessible by Canadian residents to regulation by the CRTC. So now that we have the details out of the way, the best way that I can sum this whole thing up is that it's essentially a case of the CRTC wanting more censorship and more ability to control online content, and this right here is going to severely impact Canadian content creators across a multitude of platforms, be it YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, etc. This is going to affect you if you are Canadian. Now, I'm also going to be sharing some footage from Scarce's video because there's some very, very important things that are stated here that needs to be shared, and I would encourage every single Canadian content creator to speak up about this and speak out against the bill. The bill should not pass whatsoever.
And our next story for today is absolutely huge if you live in Canada or if you are a Canadian creator like a YouTuber or a streamer. This is going to affect all of you. So for those of you who don't know, recently there has been a bill out in Canadian Parliament called Bill C-11, and what this bill does is it allows the Canadian government to regulate content creators on platforms like YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, really any platform that you guys are posting online digital content. This will dictate how and where your content will appear on these platforms, and it will also change how your content is discovered. So chances are your content is going to be pushed down in the algorithm, and in order for people to see your videos now, you are going to have to make content that proves that you are Canadian enough.
Now this right here is honestly very, very alarming for a lot of Canadian content creators, and rightfully so, because we bust our asses when it comes to creating content on these platforms that we eventually want to make a living off of one day. And if this right here is going to be affecting the discoverability of our content, and our content gets pushed down in favor of other forms of media, then this right here is going to screw a lot of people over. Big time. No joke. And the whole thing of you gotta prove that you're Canadian enough, like, get the fuck out of here with that, man. Like, you know what? I'm from Nova Scotia, bitch. There. Proof enough.
That's right. I didn't know Canada was so patriotic, but apparently you are going to have to make content to let people know that you are Canadian, and this is going to have to meet the CanCon requirements. They also are regulating the advertisements on your channels, so this will affect your income as well. So if you're a Canadian creator, you probably will start noticing your views going down, your income going down, everything, because what this bill is really meant to do is to prop up old media. It's meant to prop up some of these big Canadian corporations who already have to abide by this, and now you're going to have to abide by this too.
And this right here sounds like that it comes from somebody that is a mega boomer, because it seems like that these type of people that are in Canadian government just absolutely cannot grasp the concept of evolution. Evolution doesn't just affect human organisms, okay? It also affects technology. I bet you didn't know that, right? Well, that part of technology involves online media, okay? Yes, we grew up in the olden age when it came to watching all of the news on our TVs with our families after we ate our suppers and all that stuff. But guess what? Times change, and so does technology. Now a lot of the stuff that we get in terms of news or any form of media, the majority of it comes from online.
And they're going to get an unfair advantage over you. It's going to be really serious. And to be honest, this is one of the biggest things that I've seen any government do when it comes to regulating platforms like YouTube. We just don't see something this severe. And you have a ton of Canadian creators that are speaking out against this right now. They're trying to do whatever they can to try to stop this from being passed. And some Canadian YouTubers are even going so far as saying that they will leave Canada if this bill passes.
And I might actually contemplate migrating my crazy ass to Japan if this bill does pass. Ain't no way in hell am I going to let any form of bill or anything or anyone stand in the way of the dreams that many of us content creators have when it comes to the art of what we do, okay? This is something that we put our blood, sweat, and tears into. This is something that we put our life into, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is something that the government shouldn't just, you know, feel the need to control and take things away from us. Like, that is just not right.
And one of the top YouTubers that is speaking out against this right now is the YouTuber known as JJ McCullough. This guy makes videos on Canada, and he recently went to the Canadian Parliament to speak out against this bill. Just watch this.
Now, much of the debate around Bill C-11 has centered on so-called user-generated content, which is often implied to mean frivolous social media posts. But Section 4.2 states that government is interested in regulating content that, quote, generates revenues, which describes the sort of videos professional YouTubers create. Regardless, it is important to understand that it is simply impossible to regulate a platform like YouTube without also regulating creator content. It's like promising not to regulate books while regulating what can be sold in bookstores. Given the broad powers of the CRTC, which Bill C-11 expands to include digital platforms, the Canadian YouTuber community is right to worry that the continued success of their channels could soon be dependent on their ability to make content that's Canadian enough to obtain government endorsement. Even more ominously, Section 9 of this bill says the CRTC can dictate, quote, the proportion of programs to be broadcast that shall be devoted to specific genres on digital platforms. Given that YouTubers make videos of every genre imaginable, from fitness to architecture to political commentary, it is frankly terrifying to imagine that government may soon have a hand in determining which genres of video are more worthy of promotion than others. In summary, anyone proud of the tremendous success of Canadians on YouTube should be deeply concerned about the damage Bill C-11 could do to their livelihoods. I also worry that the dreams of the next generation of Canadian YouTubers will become less achievable once they're forced to navigate intimidating new regulatory hurdles my generation did not.
JJ McCullough tweeted this out. He says, I don't often post overtly opinionated content to my YouTube channel because it's not a commentary channel and I'm sensitive to the diversity of my audience. But my last two videos bashing C-11 have gotten an amazing response. No one on the left, right, or center supports this bill. He then tweeted out saying, a lot of Canadians have been asking me what they can do to help oppose Bill C-11. I honestly think the best thing you can do is to ask other Canadian YouTubers to speak out against it. No one, beyond corporate media's special interest, supports this bill after hearing about it.
This right here is a very big deal if you are Canadian. I don't know how many times it can be stated enough in different wording, and this is so serious that I was even contemplating putting this on my main channel too, because of the severity and the impact this bill could have if it ends up passing. But instead, I am going to encourage all of you guys to not only share this video as well, but share all of the other videos that you see talking about this subject and calling out this bogus bill, because it's absolute garbage and there's no logical reason as to why it should pass. Like, if you have left, right, and centrists that are agreeing that this right here is bogus, you know how seriously bad it really is, and the political spectrums usually can never agree on anything, so that right there tells a lot by itself. So yeah, I'm not really sure what else I can say here. I mean, I guess we just gotta keep tabs on this situation for the foreseeable future and hope to God this bill does not pass, because if it does, then a lot of us Canadian content creators are going to lose our freaking minds, and rightfully so. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you guys very much for watching and taking time out of your day to view this video. Have yourself a damn good one, people, and I'll see you next time.